Howdy everybody in YouTube land. What you're looking at in front of you today is a pair of power supplies. But not just any power supplies. These go to the WeatherSTAR 4000. Someone sent these power supplies in because they quit working. So this one, they both have leaking caps that were changed. That's common with these now. But this one will run for a bit and then just shut off and won't turn on again unless it sits, which is weird. This one blows fuses. Is what I'm gathering. So it ran for a bit after recapped and it blew fuses and doesn't work anymore. So yeah, let's dive into them and see what's going on. Actually, I want to save you for last. I want to look at the one that now blows fuses because at least I know it has a hard fault. That one, who knows? I'll have to look into that one a bit more later. But for now, let's take a peek inside here and see what we got going on. Got the screws out of the lid. And there we go. So, I think I could be wrong. The original owner will have to correct me on this, but anybody that's been around long enough to know, oh boy. Whew. Okay. So, from anybody that's been in the community long enough to know, the original story behind this one is there was a guy who passed away a long time ago named Martin. Martin used to run the TWC Today forums years and years ago. This machine came from him. And the power supply died long ago and was replaced with an ATX or something. So, anyways, that is the story that I know of so far. So, now I've got these random spontaneous chips. 339, 333. Oof. Random fuses that are blown. Pico fuses that I don't know why they're in here. So this power supply is dead for some reason and it keeps blowing a fuse. Oh, it's blowing these fuses too. Wow. Okay. Alright, so this one's definitely going to be an interesting repair. Oh yeah. But the important thing is it's been recapped, so I don't have to mess with it a whole lot. Alright, so as far as we're aware that, you know, this power supply came from Martin. It came out of his unit that he gave the guy who owns it now before he passed away. So that's what I know at the current moment in time. Anyways, supposedly if it's blowing fuses, we need to do some quick checks, such as making sure we have no shorts to ground and things like that. So let's start checking secondary diodes, and we're going to check rails to ground for shorts and all that fun stuff. One thing I'm noticing right away is just the corrosion and damage to this hardware from leaking capacitors, because if I remember correctly, this board, me and him, we were troubleshooting it over the internet trying to figure it out, so that's why the fuses are like this and things like that. But and eventually he just sent it my way so we can fix it properly. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that the issue is the capacitors were leaking really badly, and I don't know if they were leaking by the time this thing quit working, or if that was just a general failure. It's really hard to say, but they were definitely leaking after the fact. So yeah, the story is this belonged to Martin, who used to run and own TWC Today forums, and he passed away and he ended up with the unit. I don't know if he ended up with the unit before or after he passed away. I don't know. But anyways, so there's a story behind this one anyways. That's the important thing. It's not just a general run-of-the-mill 4000. This actually belonged to someone that, as far as I'm aware of, actually used it on the feed. Back when the feed was still alive. It was used on the feed to watch TWC programming back then. Anyways, I guess technically all 4000s were used on the feed. Well, no, that's not true. I do own a 4000 that was new old stock, because it never worked when it was new. And it just got kicked aside to eventually be resold by a recycler, and then now it's at my house. And it runs all the time. Anyways. Okay, so what we're doing is we're taking this thing apart, if you haven't been able to tell already, because I don't know what we got going on underneath it or anything yet, but this hardware is just terrible. I did quickly grab the meter and check the fuses, and they're definitely blown. I checked the bridge rectifier. It's not shorted. So at this point, the cause is unknown. So we need to dig deep. Oh, wow. That was tight. Okay. Ooh, that one's crusty. Oh yeah, that one's really crusty. And look at that. Don't know if the caps are still charged yet. Yeah, that's bad. So that screw was probably up closer to there. And from all of the leaking cap juice. Oh man, when capacitors are gross when they start leaking. In a serious sense of the word. Alright. Got all the nuts off the posts. See, yep, oh, got one more over here. So many screws to get this apart. So we are going to find out what failed in this power supply. Because something did. Dang, got another one. Thing's got... Let's play a game of 50,000 screws. Where's Waldo? There we go. Now we're loose. Alright, well, I need both hands to get this out, and then we'll start troubleshooting it. Oh yeah, the capacitor leakage was really bad on this one. You can see the corrosion and stuff. Scratched up and cleaned up, and wow, that was bad. Yeah, this one definitely got roached. So if it's blowing fuses now, it was probably always doing that, to be honest. Recapping is a side effect, so okay, we're gonna have to do some investigating, especially on the primary stage. Make sure there's no shorts in the transistors. I'm doing some dry checks in here. It's possible these 100 ohm resistors are open again. But what I found right away is, and this might be normal, but I don't think so. I've got a collector to emitter short on the main transistor. Here and here. But I don't have a base to collector or base to emitter short, so I don't know where that short is yet. But I'm definitely gonna have to pull that transistor out and take a look-see. Just to make sure that I want to start pulling parts out, because it's possible I'm reading through the transformer, but I don't think so. There's something up here. You know things are bad when I'm pulling transformers. So I remove this and the short goes away. You can see where things have been hot. So that has me worried. I'm going to have to ring check that. So, yeah. Alright, so I did some checking with the meter. Sure enough, the transformer is shorted because here's the deal. If I'm looking at the primary side, you have a winding with thick wires and winding with much thinner wire. Well, slightly thinner wire. So the thick wire winding are these two outer posts here, which are between here and here, which makes sense because that is the fuse from the main B supply, which feeds one end of the winding, and the other end of the winding comes down here to the chopper transistor. So that makes sense. These two this is one winding. There's no center taps off the winding because if you look at these other windings, they use thinner wires, roughly. Now, I did some metering around, and sure enough, these two windings are shorted together. That's unfortunate. So the transformer's bad. And that's why I'm getting a short across this winding here, which is this winding, and then this winding. So, and that's ground. So unfortunately, the two windings are shorted together. So that's why it's blowing fuses. It's junk. I'm not going to be able to get that transformer. So, well, that's one down. Unfortunately, non-repairable. I'm going to grab my ring tester anyway and check that winding, but it's junk. There's nothing I can do about it. The unfortunate situation here is there's nothing I can do. The transformer's bad. I double, triple checked it, and it's junk. So, unfortunately, this one's dead, and it's going to stay dead. So, let's take a look at the other one and see what we got going on with that one. This one here, as far as I know, will turn on and run for a little bit, and how long it runs varies, and then it just drops out, just completely dies, and won't power back up again until all the charge drains off. So before I even mess around with it, I want to take the board out and take a look underneath and see if there's anything going on that I'm not aware of. And I also want to start testing the semiconductors for leakages and stuff like that. So let's take a look at that. Also, it's possible that this 100 ohm resistor is open again because it's reading high, and that'll do it too. Doing a quick inspection, the 100K resistor is still good, so that's not my issue. But I'm doing a closer inspection. I checked that transistor just to make sure it's fine, and it is. All of this stuff over here is fine. But what I'm starting to notice is the solder joints in this thing are really bad. There's some ring cracks developing around the transformer. They're definitely on the output lugs, like here, there. I mean, they're really bad, so I want to do all that. But perhaps, more importantly, there's a resistor on this side. Look at this. See that? That's a big issue. Oh yeah, that's broke. So that's going to cause problems. And if you follow this trace all the way around, comes over to here, and then over, that's the sense wire for the 5-volt output. So if this is dropping out, of course it's going to shut down. So yeah, it's going into protection. So I got to resolder all of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and take care of all of the solder joints in here. Clean up some of this corrosion stuff, but take care of all the solder joints, and then we're going to let this thing run again and see if the problem still persists. Alright, I got all of the suspect solder joints redone the best I possibly could. So I'm going to start putting this back together, fire it up, and just kind of let it run and see if it faults out. Because I got the updated story, so it would run for about 30 minutes or so and things would warm up, then it would die. And it wouldn't come on again until it cooled down. So that certainly sounds like solder joints to me. And the way I saw this resistor was a pretty good suspicion of that. So all of that's done now. I'm going to put it back together, get it up under a load real quick, and let it run and see how it does. Alright, well, I got my power cord wired in. My meter's up and going. Let's see what happens. No, that's not good. It's just ticking. Okay, now I don't have a load on it, but there's an artificial load right here, so it shouldn't do that. These things are starting to become a pain in the ass, so we're gonna have to do some more troubleshooting. I checked everything, but I didn't see anything, so let's try it again outside the case. Whoa. Oh wow, that's high. I gotta adjust that. It's running. It's definitely running. Whoa. It dropped out. It was running and then it just dropped out. Interesting. So that's what it's doing. It literally just starts up and drops out. But the voltage was way too high when it did so. Okay, it's running again. Adjust the voltage. And then boom. Drops out again. I wonder if that pot's bad. Huh. Alright, well, let's measure that pot because something's wrong there. I might suck that one out and check it, see what is that? Because as soon as I touch that pot, it's like boom, out. So that is a 2K ohm. Alright. It's a 2K pot. So let's see how many ohms that pot actually is. Need to pull that out. I have to check that. Yeah, as soon as I touch this pot with the adjustment tool on the ohm meter, it jumps all over the place. It literally does. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to spray these pots out. Get some cleaner in there and work them a little bit. Because I'm wondering if that was the problem the whole time on top of the bad solder joints. Because as soon as you touch this pot, it starts cycling. Alright, so I got them all sprayed up and I worked them back and forth a little bit with my adjustment tool here. So now, in theory, it should be stable, and it is. So I'm going to adjust this. Hey, it's not tripping out anymore. I can actually adjust it. Alright, I'm going to leave it at 5.2 volts. I'll have to test this under load and adjust appropriately, but it's running now, so I want to be quick with this because I don't want this thing burning up. Oh yeah, it's already hot. So, okay, now I can put this back together and we're going to try this again and hopefully it works. But yeah, it's like as soon as I would touch this, the thing would just shut off and start cycling. So that could have very well been the whole problem. So I sprayed them out and worked both of them a little bit. I returned this position back to where it was before, and in this one I had to adjust. So in order to properly test this power supply, we're going to have to hook it into a 4000. So this basically becomes a sacrificial unit, because if anything goes wrong in here, this goes bye-bye. Probably permanently. So yeah, that's probably not the most wise decision to do that. But you know what? Gotta live a little. So I've got 7 of these machines, so I don't really care a whole lot. And 1 or 2 of them are parts machines anyways, so it's not really a bother to me at all. So this one here, I removed the battery controller management thing because it's not needed anymore. And if this ever went bad, it would shoot 12 volts into a 5-volt circuit. There's already a clamping diode for that secondary V supply anyway, so it doesn't matter a whole lot, but I bypassed it off right here with this cap. Well, actually, no, I had to fix that because the thermal overload went bad because the fan went out. That's why this unit was retired. So, yeah, I did a bypass somewhere in here. I don't know where it is. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing wired in. And these wires are only this long, so wiring all this in is fun, but we'll get her. So I got all the wires connected again. I just followed where these were originally based on the markings on the back plane versus where they go here. So everything's all connected again. I had to add this 12 volt fan because the original one died a long time ago. And since I disabled the power failure detection and battery circuitry, this is unused. That doesn't matter anymore. All that's gone because I cut this white wire, which was the battery backup wire, and wired it straight into 5 volts. So that goes away. These two wires come up here for AC fail and VBAT, neither which one I'm using anymore, and then ground. So anyways, power supply is now in there. Now I just have to wire up the primary wire here and then get this positioned in place and then test it. Now before I install the cards back in here, I want to try to attempt to power this thing up, make sure things aren't going to go smoky. Hey, we're on. Fan's running, which is 12 volt. Alright, so at this point, I need to start throwing cards in here. I'm going to put my CPU card in there first. Now, I'm going to test it with just this card. Now, granted, it's going to cycle because none of the other cards are in there, so the BIOS is just going to keep triggering bus error, but that's not a big deal. Let's see if we got power on the 5 volt bus. We do. It's going to cycle. See. So we're good there. And then I/O cards to graphics cards. Skip. I think I/O went here or here. I don't know. Not that it matters. It'll work just fine. Alright, so make sure I get my LEDs put back in there. Alright. We got power. Alright, so we're going to let this guy run. Because this is my little test chassis anyways. I got to go burn a set of ROMs from my graphics card. I must install them at one point and put them in a different board. So, yeah, this graphics card was originally in this machine, and when the fan died, it killed the RAM DAC, obviously. But it had some issues with synchronization, so I replaced the crystal. And there might be some other bad things in there too. I'm not 100% certain on that, but otherwise the card did work fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and get me some ROMs. Oh yeah, I had to replace the RAMs too because one of them was bad, so I put them brand new ones in. But anyways, that's outside the scope of this video. So let me go get some ROMs, get them thrown in there, and then get my data card in there and fire this thing up. Got me a set of ROMs installed. Burned a new set and threw them in there. So that should be good there. Alright. Make sure the graphics card comes up on health lights. It does. The health light at the bottom is the graphics card. So okay, now I've got to get a data card in here. And one data card. So this has a... Did I throw a Pi 4 on that? Yeah, I did. That's really going to put a test to that power supply. So I got a Pi 4 on there. Really, that's it. I didn't build the audio section because it's not important at the moment. So let's throw that in here. Anywhere in a moment. All right. Okay. So now I got to get a display connected. I'll probably set it here. For now, let's move all this crap out of the way. All right. Why are you cycling? Okay. It's booting up, and we'll get the display hooked up and then let this power supply run. So this graphics card's refusing to boot. It keeps throwing a download error. So something's still wrong with it somewhere. It worked in the past, but I guess it's not going to work anymore. I don't know why. What's happening? Maybe I burnt the wrong ROMs, or maybe something else is wrong. I don't know. So I will have to fix that later. But for now, I'll just throw another one in there, which this one's my development one, which has EEPROMs in it. So I know this one works. So I know that one works. Vintage hardware. Ain't it fun? Okay. Let's wait for this one to boot. See if this one comes up. I hope. Yep, it came up. Alright, so it's downloading all of the data into the machine right now, so it'll take about 10-15 minutes, but yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out what the hell is going on with this now. Ah, well. I'll be back in a minute. Alright, now that we're up, I'm gonna go ahead and throw a, let's see, a JL2. Hopefully that brings her up and going. There we are. Alright, we're running now. So I'm just going to let this one run a bit. It should take a second for the clock to kick in. Once the playlist, there we go. Playlist had to catch up, so. Alright, we're going to let this guy run. And hopefully this power supply doesn't trip out. It's been on for a couple hours now, 2.5 hours or so, and it's been working fine. The power supply has not shut off once. So I decided to investigate my graphics card situation a little bit further. What I found is I must have grabbed the wrong ROMs. So I took the ROMs off of this one, which I knew was working because that's what I was just running. Stuck them on this card, and now it's starting up. So yeah, I'm going to have to double check my ROMs because I've got 2 or 3 different ROM versions here. This might be the newer ROM that has a different vector address because I moved the vector address because Vector 64 was what I chose originally to handle the interrupts on the bootloader. The problem with that is VRTX 32, which is the kernel that this machine ran, requires Vector 64 to point to the configuration for VRTX. So I can't use Vector 64 for that. I have to move Vector 64 to somewhere else, so I chose 65. Vector 64 is for VRTX 32, so if I burnt the older ROMs, so I put the older ROMs in there, that's probably why it didn't start up. So yeah, I put my development ROMs in there, and now she's booting, so that's why. So I'm going to let this finish starting up. Yeah, I had to go reach in the back and plug the BNC cable back in. So, oh, there it is. It just fired up. Alright, well, we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and power this thing down now because we're good. I'm going to go ahead and remove that power supply, and we'll get it sent back to its original owner. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you liked and enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe and all of that fun stuff, and leave a comment if you have one. Anyways, until next time, guys, thank you for watching.